Hey guys, welcome back. So today we are talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Well, most of you that are watching this probably are my age. So you grew up when the Turtles first debuted in 1988, and it is insane how popular this toy line and property became. I wrote down like some milestones that I just wanted to mention just to show how quickly things advanced, because TMNT really came out at the right place at the right time. So we'll talk about that later towards the end of the video. But so I first discovered TMNT in the toy aisle. Every single time that we went to the store, I'm always, going to the toy aisle. And I come to the aisle and I see these brand new figures, and they're turtles and animals, and they look cool, and the word ninja is in there, and ninjas were awesome. Snake Eyes was a ninja, and I'm like, oh sweet, these guys are ninjas. And when I was a kid, my favorite color was red, so I wanted that figure of Raphael, and that's the only reason why. I didn't know anything about it. I just thought it looked cool, and he had red on him. I didn't even know how to pronounce his name. I didn't know how to pronounce any of the turtles' names until I saw the cartoon. So, let's see, the figures came out summer of '88, and the cartoon came out, there was a 5-part miniseries that came out in December of '87, but the first full season came out fall of '88. So, I'm pretty sure that when I bought that G.I. Joe Demon that I showed in my G.I. Joe video, I am pretty sure that I bought that and my figure of Raphael at the exact same time for my birthday. And I had that one figure for a while, and that was it. And then eventually I saw the cartoon. The neighbor kid next door just happened to mention it. And I'm pretty sure it was on, I feel like it was on after school. New episodes were on Saturday mornings. But I feel like I watched it after school, and eventually I saw that 5-part miniseries. I feel like they released all the parts on separate VHS tapes, because I feel like I had one VHS tape of one part of it. I don't remember. I don't have it anymore. So that's when I really became a fan of the Turtles. I started watching the cartoon. I learned what their names were. I learned who Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady are, and I am all in. I love it. My brother, who's 2 years younger than me, he loves it. And pretty soon we start rapidly building a collection of Ninja Turtle figures, because my mom had remarried the year before. I think it was the year before. I don't remember. Anyways, my mom, when my mom was a single mom, she didn't have a lot of money for toys. So my collections of Masters of the Universe were really small, along with Transformers. I spent more money on G.I. Joe, Ghostbusters, and then with my stepdad in the picture, there was enough disposable income that my brother and I had pretty healthy collections of Ninja Turtle stuff. I wish I still had all of it. All of his stuff is gone, some of my stuff is gone, and I wish I still had it, but I'm very thankful for what I do have, and we'll go through some of that like always. As I was saying, I feel like Turtles came out at the right place at the right time, because all of the avenues of merchandise that toy line produced was incredible. It was a cartoon and a comic book, but for me, the key is video games. Turtles came out just the right time so that we got video games, and we got quite a few video games just from that span of when I was a kid. And I think that might have really helped to propel the line into, I can't even really describe it, just insane popularity. I don't remember kids wearing G.I. Joe and Transformers and t-shirts, maybe some Ghostbuster stuff, but holy cow, did everybody have Turtle stuff, including me. I had sweatpants, sweatshirt, t-shirts, I ate the cereal. I don't know. I think that toy lines that were struggling by the late 80s or very early 90s, those toy lines got killed off because Turtles became so popular that that's what all the parents' money was going to. Because everybody had them and everybody liked them, and it was just crazy. In fact, when I think about my history of video games, it started with the 2600, but that didn't make me a gamer. Like, that was just another option in the toy box. And those games were so simplistic that they didn't hold my attention. So I kind of just played them when I had nothing else to do. But like I mentioned, when I got my Nintendo, we also got a copy of TMNT. So really, TMNT has been with me from the beginning of my time as a gamer. It was the first third-party title that I ever got from Ultra Games, Konami. It was the first video game that I ever got that was based off a licensed property. The first video game that I ever beat was TMNT II, the arcade game. I mean, I didn't really think about it until I just started sitting here making this video, but yeah, like TMNT and my love affair with video games, they're all right there at the same time. And I think that's one reason that TMNT did become popular, is because kids like me who really loved the cartoon and played with the toy line, they also got video games, and we just got all this merchandising and stuff just, I wouldn't say shoved down our throats, but holy cow did we have options. So I made this list of milestones that I want to talk about just to kind of drive home the point, you know, how rapidly this property grew. So that 5-part miniseries, December of 87. Summer of 88, the toy line comes out. That first wave of figures, which we'll see all of them. Fall of 88, the first full season of the cartoon airs on television and on Saturday morning. New episodes on Saturday morning. The NES Nintendo game, the first one, was the summer of 89. The live action movie was March of 1990. The live concert tour was late summer of 1990. And the game that we're going to play, which you know which one it is because we're now in the 16-bit era of gaming, that came out in 92. So if you consider basically the launch of TMNT isn't really 87, it's that summer of 88. So summer of 88 to summer of 92, 4 years, we got multiple waves of figures, probably 2 live action movies at this point. I mean, by 92, the second movie must have already been out. Hell, the third one might have been close to coming out. I don't remember. But live action movies, arcade games, home games. Like, if you were a Turtle fan, you had an avenue to experience the property in multiple ways. You can watch the cartoons, you can play the video games, you can read the comic books, you can play with the action figures, you can eat the cereal, you can wear the t-shirts, you can go to the live action concert. Like, there was no toy line before that that had that much growth that when I think about it, it's just crazy. You know, and Turtles isn't even my favorite toy line. It probably was when I was a kid. It's not now. You guys know that. It's G.I. Joe. But I don't know, it's just crazy. It's crazy to think how it just exploded onto the world and became so popular. And the line has been able to reinvent itself over the years, and it made me feel pretty old, like when my stepson asked me about, do you know about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? And I'm like, yeah, I was there when it started. Now I feel old. You know, I mean, the same with Transformers, but he didn't say that about Transformers, but he did about Ninja Turtles. I'm just like, oh man, I feel old, bud. I was there from day one. So I got a bunch of figures and vehicles to show you guys. Not a bunch of figures, a few vehicles. These are personal favorites of mine. I'm not going to show you everything, but this is the stuff that I deem the most important and worth showing. All right, so where it all started at. Whoop. Raphael. He's got a little spot back here for some other edged weapon. It just fell out. Leonardo. Michelangelo. And I'm saving the best for last. My favorite is Donnie. When I was a kid, Mikey was my favorite turtle because he was kind of like a kid. You know, he was the goofball. And then when I got older, I gravitated towards the tech-savvy, logical Donatello. And I like all of them, but Donnie is he's by far my favorite. All right. Bebop. Rocksteady. Foot Soldier. These guys are pretty cool looking. They're like zombie, creepy, monstery looking, like all hunched over and that. Shredder. This figure was weird. He's posed so strange, the way his arms are posed and his legs all bent over. And I didn't really find this figure that enjoyable to play with. Obviously, I wanted it. It's Shredder, but there's a Shredder figure that I'll show you that became my default Shredder figure and probably was the same for you guys because I just think it's a better figure. A Splinter. This is one of the first figures that my brother had. In fact, when we were kids, my stepdad let us paint the walls of our room. We could choose whatever color we wanted. And he let us paint, we painted pictures of the turtles on our walls. I had some stickers, like those puffy stickers, like you could squish them. I had like a package of those stickers, and he like took them to work, and he made like a plastic overlay that you would put on an overhead projector, and he brought this overhead projector home because he was a school teacher. Well, he was a college instructor. So he brings this overhead projector home and he puts the overlay on there, and we traced out the figure, or you know, I must have been Michelangelo because I was a Michelangelo guy as a kid, and my brother had Splinter, and we outlined him onto the walls, and we ended up, you know, painting him in. So Mikey was over my bed. And then the last figure of the original wave is April. And I have her on card. It's the only carded figure I have. So I figured I'd show you guys this so you can, you know, get a jogged down memory lane of what the carded figures look like. This is not like the original release of April. This is, they revised her a little bit. This is the one that's got the blue stripes on the side. So this isn't like original release. And then the back gives you the little overview of the story of the turtles. It gives you the pictures of that iconic Wave 1. And then taking a cue from G.I. Joe, there are file cards and pizza points. G.I. Joe had, what was it, flag points? And they have pizza points. So the funny thing about April is that she comes with a gun. That, I don't know, it just seems strange. Even shows her using it right there on the card. I don't know, that just seems really weird. Okay, my default Shredder character. You guys know which one it is. Super Shredder. Also the first character that I got that came with mutagen canisters, which is weird. You think you would have gotten mutagen canisters before, but this was the first one that I got a mutagen canister with. He came with 2 of them. And I ended up getting a bunch of them. There's some other figures I'll show you that came with their own translucent green mutagen canisters. And this figure I won in a contest, got it for free, the Baxter Stockman. I remember getting this and being disappointed because I was like, oh man, I don't want Baxter. I wanted someone cool. But I actually like this figure. I used him quite a bit. Yeah, like, it's a good figure to have. There's the Rat King. Leatherhead, his mouth opens up. He came with a gun too. He came with a sawed-off shotgun. I mean, I guess there was a number of figures that came with guns, but a lot of them were like laser guns. They weren't like realistic looking firearms. This was a figure that my brother had before I did, Casey Jones, and he wouldn't let me play with it, so I had to get my own. Oh, this figure here, Metalhead. I wanted this figure so badly when I first saw it, and every time we went to Target, I checked the toy aisle and never found it. And my stepdad ended up taking a business trip to New York City in like October, I think, middle of October, late October. And when he was there, he found it in a toy store and he bought it. And I opened this thing up on Christmas Day along with one of the vehicles that we're going to see. And I can't tell you how thrilled I was. And so then he tells me the whole story. He's like, that thing's been in the closet for a couple months. He's like, I was really hoping that every single time we went to the store, you weren't going to find one. And I never did, and it worked out. So this is a very good Christmas memory. And I remember they stuck it in a shoebox, and they wrapped it with a shoebox, and I opened it up, and they had bent the flap of the card over, which I was a little bummed about. But I never really kept I kept those cards for a while, and then I recycled all of them. I think we moved. And my parents were like, do you really need all this junk? You know, and so then all of the card backs get recycled. And that one was bent in half. But oh man, I really like this figure. He's you can see his brains in here, and then it's like clear. So that way the light goes in there and makes his eyes light up. Very cool figure. I used to get all my figures out and have like these huge battles. We had the play sets. Now originally we didn't have the play sets. I made play sets out of cardboard boxes, and I made the Technodrome and a sewer play set. And I played with those for like 1 or 2 years, and then eventually I got the sewer play set and my brother got the Technodrome for Christmas. And we had a toy room down in the basement, but eventually the toys would just make their way into my room, and I would have these massive battles where I've got the sewer on one side and the Technodrome on the other, and I've got figures and vehicles everywhere. And so like I'd come home from school, maybe play for an hour or two, and I would leave everything lie right where it was at, and I would pick back up the next day. So I'd have to like tiptoe through my room, walk around all my guys. I mean, these is epic battles where like people are dying, and they'd last a whole week. And one of the storylines that I would do was inspired by RoboCop. One of the turtles would get severely injured, and then he would get transformed into Metalhead. So the turtles ended up getting all of these kinds of gimmicky figures. You know, you can keep the line fresh by introducing all these new figures. And so this one, they had like these, I don't know, the turtles were all in these different disguises, but Donnie was like an actual like private eye disguise. And I really liked this figure when I first saw it. He came with like I think it came with like a mask, like a human mask that went over his face, and a briefcase, and I think it came with a gun, but it was like one that had a flag in it, you know, it says bang. I really like this figure, and I thought it was cool because when the turtles would go out in public, like in the cartoon and that 5-part miniseries when they go to get pizza, or in the live-action movie, they wear trench coats. So it was kind of like that, and I'm like, oh, cool, he's got a trench coat. Like, I can use this figure and play with him going out into the public in disguise. Here is Slash. I'm sure you guys have noticed that a number of these figures that I'm showing are going to be featured in the game that we're playing, because I know that you guys know what game we're going to be playing. And here's Mutagen Man, and you can see his innards. I thought this was a pretty cool figure. And then, so one of the gimmick lines they had was they had like this mutant military. They actually had like multiple waves, and they ended up making vehicles like branded as mutant military, and I really got behind that being I don't know, interested in the military and liking G.I. Joe. So that's the one, I guess, gimmick line of figures I'm going to show because I've got a number of them. I've got one of every turtle. So here's Raph as a Green Beret. Leonardo is like a basic soldier. He's wearing like desert camo. Mikey is a Navy SEAL, so he's got all of his underwater gear and his rebreather unit, all that stuff. And then Donnie is an Air Force pilot, and he comes with a plastic parachute that goes into that slot in the back. And then I've got one of Bebop, which this figure's interesting because it's got extra articulation. He bends at the elbows. I don't know a lot about Ninja Turtle figures, but getting these things out, this really surprised me. You know, these were usually 5 points of articulation, like the arms would go up like this, but they actually got extra joints in here, so the arms go out and it bends at the elbows, and I don't know why. I don't know if there was other figures that were like that, but, you know, that's cool. Okay, so... Okay, so a term that action figure collectors use is a peg warmer. And a peg warmer is an unpopular figure that when you go to the toy store aisle, you see a whole bunch of them on the pegs, and they're just sitting there keeping the pegs warm. Now, when I was a kid, I didn't know about this term, but I will show you the first peg warmer that I saw because it was a disappointing trip to the store. So we go to Target. I head back to the toy aisle, and I'm walking down the aisle, and I turn to the left to go into the aisle, and that shelf that would be right to my left as I enter the aisle is where all the turtle figures were at. And I'm waiting to see what figures they got and everything, and all they got is Krang. And they've got a ton of them. Like, the amount of space that Ninja Turtles took up in the toy aisle was very reminiscent of G.I. Joe back in its heyday. There was a ton of space dedicated towards turtles. Like, that boys' toy aisle, you know, was one aisle with shelving on both sides of it, like where all the action figures were at. And I bet turtles took up at least a third of that entire aisle. It was like Turtles, G.I. Joe, that would have been the New Adventures of He-Man, Transformers. I don't remember if Transformers, they were probably still out there. I just wasn't probably playing with them. But I remember this toy aisle in the store and where it was at. And I can remember rounding the corner and seeing all these Krangs and thinking, oh my God. So that's what a peg warmer is, and Krang was the first peg warmer that I ever encountered. And then these are some of the last figures that I ever bought. So these mutations, they were pretty cool. They had figures that you could then mutate. So like I've got Rocksteady there in his human form. That's Donatello as a turtle. And then I've got that foot soldier that's in there. And the box, so this is the foot soldier box. It says new for 93. The box is interesting because it says mutates from rad robot to masked ninja. But that's not what appealed to me. What appealed to me was that I could have the turtles fight this foot soldier and then he would basically get battle damage. Just like I had a battle armor He-Man figure when I was a kid. I had actually He-Man and Skeletor, and you could hit their chest and they would have damage. So that's how I played with this as. It wasn't the robot turning into the foot soldier, it was the foot soldier getting damaged and, you know, eventually more of the robot showing. And then I just decided to keep all these in this box. And the only problem with these figures is they're really bulky. I mean, you look at Rocksteady. It's probably not going to show up very well, but the figures are really bulky, and they're kind of stiff, and they got these big torsos, and I mean, I don't know. But these are the figures that came with the translucent green ooze canisters. I can see them in there. I don't think I'm going to take one out. Yeah, they must have each came with one because I think there's 3 of them in there. So that Foot Soldier is probably the last TMNT figure that I bought as a kid. And I've got a few vehicles here to show you. So this is the Cheapskate. This is from Wave 1. The fan turns. And we got the Turtle Cycle. So motorcycle, it's got a sidecar. That was pretty cool. You could have two figures on a motorcycle. And this vehicle I did not ask for. I got this for Christmas the same year that I got Metalhead. And that is the pizza thrower. The thing I remember about this toy is that when you would turn the electric motor on to shoot the pizzas, it was so loud. And it would just be like, and it spins a little wheel in there, and then you load the pizzas down in through here. Those pizzas that are in the thumbnail, those are two of the pizzas that go with this set. And they go in there, and then you push the button on the side, and it pushes the pizza over to that spinning wheel, and then it shoots it out the front. And they shot pretty far, but it was so loud and annoying that when I played with it, I really never turned it on because it was annoying. I'm just like, geez, this thing sounds terrible. Yeah, I got this, this would have been Christmas of '89. I think. Yeah, I think this was Christmas of '89. It might have been Christmas of '90. I don't know. The license plate says the works. Okay. Well, I guess I can show you this. This is, I don't know, Rocksteady's attack helicopter. The missile, I don't have the missiles on. I think there's missiles that go on this part right here, but it's got a little turtle thing for the thing back there, and yeah. This might have been part of that whole Mutant military line too. Some of the stickers are coming off. Anyways, that's it for the figures, and obviously you guys know what game we're going to play. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. I did not know that this game was an arcade game. I have no recollection of ever knowing that. Like, I just remember it coming out for the Super Nintendo, and it came out, I wanted it for my birthday. I got it for my birthday. And this game actually, how do I want to say it, helped me make a new friend. I made a new friend when we switched schools. I mentioned Luke. Luke was my best friend for a while, but I haven't talked about Adam. Adam he became my best friend in high school. And we don't spend a lot of time together. We both got our own lives and whatnot, but I don't want to say too much, but this game is a part of that friendship forming. So this game, it's got a special place in my heart. Not only do I really enjoy it, but it's also tied to the first time that I met Adam, which we will talk about in a future episode, maybe the next episode. So anyways, let's check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. Alright guys, we are playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. I just wanted to be quiet during the intro there so that you guys could see that cool opening. Very reminiscent of the cartoon. So I mentioned in the other part of the video that I had no idea that this game was an arcade game. And I've been thinking more about that, and I think the first time I actually played this game in arcade form, I was almost 40. Like, I just had no clue. You know, the 89 arcade game came out, and that game heavily inspired, you know, every Ninja Turtles game. Oh, I actually got that guy. That game heavily inspired every Ninja Turtles game really from then on. You know, everything became a beat 'em up. This property lends itself very well to being a beat 'em up. And there was Krang. Not a fan of Krang. I should say Krang's android body. Not a fan of his android body. I just think it's a little weird looking. This blue foot soldier here that I just hit and killed. I can remember the first time I fought him and thinking, why is this guy fighting me with a tuning fork? Like, that's a really strange weapon. I learned about tuning forks in music class and just found that quite surprising. And we have reached our first boss of the game, Mr. Jeff Goldblum. I say that jokingly, but I actually wonder if Baxter Stockman's character, at least the mutation part of his character, was inspired by the 1986 Fly remake. Which, if you haven't seen it, is a really good movie. It is, whoops, it's very disgusting. It has practical effects, very good practical effects. And when Jeff is transforming into the Fly, it is really disgusting. Damn. And he blows up and flies off this construction site. Playing this game now, I don't know, the construction site opening level seems kind of weird. Like, I don't know, what are we doing there? It just seems like a... I don't know, so many beat 'em ups start with a street level like this. You know, Streets of Rage, Double Dragon. It just seems like a really easy, logical first stage level. You know, we start off in the streets and then we proceed from the streets to go to wherever. And not that I'm complaining, you know, I'll take more levels. It's just, you know, there's no reason as to why we're in that construction site. I do have to say, granted this game, well, isn't as detailed as the 89 arcade game, this game looks fantastic. These are my least favorite enemies in the game. They move fast, they have ranged attacks that are very effective, and they can gang up on you. I mean, beat 'em up games, like, rule number one is you do not want to get surrounded. And those guys will just shoot all over the screen, and they'll get around you, and they'll use that electric whip, and they'll whip you, and the next one will whip you. And if you let yourself get surrounded in this game, the enemies will kind of pinball you back and forth, and you'll just start taking a whole bunch of unnecessary damage. But the game does have a very good maneuver to get out of situations like that, which I actually don't know how to do. When I do it here, I'll point it out. I'm sure you guys that are familiar with this game already know which move I'm talking about. That move right there. That is a great move to kind of clear the screen and give yourself some room. If you position yourself right, you can get some hits on Metalhead before he is ready to attack. I was very... oh, dang. When I first played this game, I was very happy that Metalhead was in it. As I talked about in the first part of the video, I'm very partial to this figure. It was a figure that I really wanted, and I'm super happy that I got it as a kid on Christmas Day. And I was pretty thrilled to see Metalhead in the game. Grab our pizza here. The pizzas actually add a count to the counter up there, which it's like enemies dispatch, but depending on how you dispatch certain foot soldiers, it'll give you sometimes more than 1 point. I don't really know why. I like at the beginning of the levels how you get the silhouette of what the final boss will be, but actually that is not the case for this level. The silhouette is of that, well, very xenomorph-like creature, which is not the final boss of this level. So I guess this level is the exception. These bonus stages are fun. You know, they just kind of break up the monotony of constantly beating people up. Well, I guess you're still beating people up, but you're just doing it a little bit differently. Oh, I almost missed that. I find it's best to get past these gates if you stay up at the top of the screen. You don't want to touch any of these mines. Oh. And here's our xenomorph lookalikes. I'm pretty sure I hadn't seen Alien or Aliens before I had played this game. And I don't actually remember when I, had finally played this game and then thought, huh, that looks very familiar. And now we get to our final boss, and that is Rat King. That's a pretty cool figure. I don't know if I really did a good job of showing that figure, but like he's got different animals on him. There's a rat, and I forget what the other animals are, but they're molded onto his arms and whatnot, and I don't know, it's really cool. So if you stay up here, you can still get hits on him. And you can avoid the mines, but as you can see, you can't really avoid those missiles that shoot out from the side. I really wanted this vehicle. I don't remember what it's called. But after playing this game, I really wanted it. And there we go. So I like how the stage progression happens in this game. We're on the streets, we head into the sewers, we access this underground area that the Technodrome is in. The progression of the story is logical, which is something that I can't really say about Hyperstone Heist for the Genesis. I'm glad that you Sega guys got a Turtles game for your system if that was all you had. Us Nintendo kids were pretty spoiled. We had 3 Turtles games on the NES, and then we got this one for the Super Nintendo, and we got 3 titles for the Game Boy, and that doesn't even count the Tournament Fighters game that we got. So there was plenty of options to be had if you owned a Nintendo console and you liked Turtles, which can't really say for the Genesis systems. And Hyperstone Heist, like, it's a decent game. The level layout is very weird. Like, you start in the sewers, and then you're on the streets, and then you're on the sewers again. I don't know, it just doesn't seem logical to me. And it reuses bosses, and you end up having like a boss rush where you fight the same bosses over again. The one thing I will say about that game is it's got... oh, I missed the pizza. It has a unique level to it in that you fight Tatsu from the first live-action Ninja Turtles movie, and that level is awesome. That's probably actually the most fun I had playing that game, because I didn't know that when I first played it, and you know, I recognized that the level was new, and then, you know, we get to the end and there's Tatsu, and I'm like, oh, this is so awesome. I like that character. I don't know, for some reason I like characters and properties that are very loyal to their leader. So Soundwave for Transformers, Tatsu for that live-action movie, you know, just almost like the best friend, right-hand man that you can always count on type of character. I don't know, I like those characters. So as you can see, we've got Toka and Razar, and they have been given new abilities in Flame Breath and Frost Breath. You gotta watch out for the lasers on that door, they will damage you. Man. The cool thing about this fight is you can see right here, when you defeat them, they turn back into their original form, which is pretty cool. And now we've got our obligatory elevator level. Now that is not a complaint. Elevator levels are so prominent in beat-em-ups that if a beat-em-up doesn't have one, I am disappointed. I need my elevator level. I probably should just pick that up to be safe. I lost too many guys during that last boss fight. That didn't go very well. My favorite. Whenever I see those gray nunchuck foot soldiers, I always think of the scene in the first live-action movie where Mikey's like, hey, a fellow chucker, eh? And then they have like that, almost like a dance-off with their nunchucks, and you know, he eventually is spinning it on his finger, and they're all like, whoa. Like, they don't know what to think. Alright, so as a kid, whenever a game allowed you to do something like this, like throw objects at your TV screen, I always found it to be so awesome. And the first game that I can remember that happening with was Battletoads, and then this game. I'm pretty sure when I was a kid, I actually did not know how to throw the foot soldiers. Like, I would just, you know, button mash and eventually throw enough guys to defeat Shredder, which, as you can see here, I actually know how to do it. So one of my favorite, maybe my favorite story element that you could have in a story is time travel. It just opens up the possibilities of you visiting so many different periods and the situations and events that will go along with those different time periods. Like right now, we are back in the land of dinosaurs, and that is awesome. You know, kids love dinosaurs. Hell, I'm an adult and I love dinosaurs. Like Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies, obviously. You guys probably kind of already know that because I've worn my Jurassic Park t-shirt. Which, when it comes to the Jurassic Park movies, the first is my favorite, the second one is okay, the third one I don't really care for, and all the newer ones that they've made, I appreciate that they are making them for younger kids. You know, when Jurassic Park came out, that movie really blew people's minds. And still a great movie, but I don't really have any interest in revisiting that story. It just seems kind of weird. Like, you already had 3 movies where this didn't work, and so now you're gonna try it again, and you're gonna genetically modify dinosaurs so like they have superpowers. Like, yeah, that sounds like a really bad idea. I do like that the storylines are connected, you know, the same continuity. You know, it's nice that, wow, those guys literally chopped the crap out of me. It's nice that, you know, kids of today, well, the kids that were kids when those movies were being made, it was nice that they could go see them in the theater. You know, I got to see Jurassic Park in the theater as a kid, and the theater experience can be pretty bad, but if you get lucky and you don't have a bunch of people in there getting out their cell phones and talking and everything else, watching a movie in the theater can be really awesome. And I can remember when you see that first dinosaur in Jurassic Park, not the raptor at the beginning, because you don't really see it, but when you see that brontosaurus for the first time on a big screen in the theater, I mean, you're talking mind-blowing. It's like, oh my god, because at that point, the only dinosaurs I had ever seen were, you know, animated cartoons, like The Land Before Time. And here was this realistic-looking dinosaur on this huge silver screen in front of me. I mean, it just blew my mind. And, you know, everybody should get to experience a moment like that, where you go to the theater and you're watching something and you are just in awe. So hopefully the Jurassic World movies do that for the kids that were kids when they came out. These rock guys right here, I didn't know what they're called, but there was a figure, a General Trag. And so every single time I fought those guys, I'm like, oh, there's a bunch of General Trags. And here is Slash. This fight can be difficult. We get a pattern here eventually. Here we go. Where Slash will... Dang. He will jump back and forth across the screen. And that's... Man. And that's when we gotta get him. But this fight... like, it's a difficulty spike, I feel. It just... The game isn't overly difficult up until this point, and then you get to Slash, and you kind of get your butt handed to you. Oh, got him. Yes. I did not want to lose another guy on him. He blows up and he flies off the side of the cliff. I find it hilarious when like objects that shouldn't explode just, you know, explode. It's just funny. I like these screens and these transitional screens on this game where you see that you're leaving prehistoric times of the dinosaurs, and now we were going to the time period of pirates. And the developers made very good choices when picking out the time periods, I think. You know, these are interesting periods. Dinosaurs, pirates, the Wild West. You know, eventually we go into the future. They kind of hit all the notes. And you have to watch where you walk. Whoops. You have to watch where you walk here, because if you step on whatever those things are in the ground, that board, the plank of board, will fly up and hit you in the face, which is quite comical. And I never really... Oh, these guys suck. This yellow guy right here, I don't know what weapon he has, but it looks like a bottle cap, and it acts like a boomerang. Those guys have like really aggressive AI. They will kick you, and then they'll throw that bottle cap thing, and they suck. This part's cool. We fight a couple of our General Trag dudes, and then we've got cannonballs getting shot in. Oops. Oh, this is not good. And one thing, I didn't even think about this earlier. These guys are green and they're fighting. Those guys are green and they're shooting bow and arrows, so I wonder if that's like a nod to Green Arrow type of thing. That's pretty cool if it is. I like Green Arrow. I've got a cat that's named after Green Arrow. His name is Ollie. It's my wife's favorite superhero. And we've got 2 dogs. Oh, here we go. We've got 2 dogs. They're both beagles. You probably can't hear them. So beagles snore. They're sitting here on the couch with me, and they are snoring away. And all of our animals are named after superheroes or people that are in superhero media. So our male dog is named Logan. Our female dog, which we weren't supposed to technically have, it was supposed to be our friend's dog. We kind of got the dogs together, but I didn't want to separate the 2 of them. And she named the female Lane. And I said we could keep it because of Lois Lane. And then we got our cat, Ollie. Oh, awesome. Oh, I thought I had him beat. Oh, we're so close. Please die already. Oh my god. 1885. That is the same year that Back to the Future Part 3 takes place. Which, mentioning that, as I mentioned earlier, with time travel being one of my favorite elements of storytelling, I love the Back to the Future movies. They are fantastic. I don't know if I've talked about them or not. Actually, maybe I have. About how we rented the first movie and the second movie was out in theaters, so I got to see, 2/3 of the trilogy on the same day, and then had to wait a year to see the third part. I guess I got that pizza a little too early. I wasn't sure if the screen was going to move over or not, and I didn't want to lose it. And Leatherhead. I really like the villains that they selected for this game. I could do without Toka and Razor. I mean, nothing against them. I would rather keep, the movie stuff out of the comic book and cartoon continuity. I mean, I say that, but my favorite Genesis level on Hyperstone Heights is the one that's inspired with Tatsu. I just, if you're going to give me a pair of enemies to fight, I don't want Toka and Razor. I want Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, I want the OGs. Boom, he still blows up. Falls off the train, blows up. Neon 2020. The year from hell. We get another bonus stage with some Mode 7 in it. Dang. These guys, they give me G.I. Joe vibes. Like they're Cobra Vipers piloting Trouble Bubbles. I think Krang flies in right about here. Did pretty good. Well, you punk. This fight can be kind of tough. Sometimes it's tough to see if you're actually lined up with Krang or not. You gotta really look at the shadows that are being cast on the ground. Because there's times where you think you're lined up and you're not, and you will waste hits. See you later. I set my lives to the highest point in the hopes that I wouldn't have to continue to make the length of the video shorter, and I don't think I'm going to accomplish that.
Where no turtle has gone before.
I think that's the only time you see that enemy in this whole game. Alright, so these are the new versions of those trash cans on wheels from earlier. Very quick, ranged attacks. Boom. I like shoulder blocking enemies. Oh god. These guys. No. I'm trying not to touch these things, but if you do, they freeze you. Well, there we go. You guys got to see it. Well, you get to see it again. Oh, jeez. Oh, crap. Well, it didn't flatten me, but I still got hit by it. I was afraid I was going to get stuck in that animation and it was going to roll me over, but Still managed to damage me. There'll be one more of them. Dang it. These guys are annoying. You can block or you can break their defense, as you can see by doing a shoulder block. Now we fight Krang in this weird looking spaceship thing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it seemed like Krang was always like the head guy. Like he was, I guess, the brains behind the operation, but was also like the main guy in charge. But whenever we play a Turtles game, we usually always fight Krang before we fight Shredder. And I mean, Shredder's their OG villain. I don't know, it just seems kind of weird. I'm not really a terribly huge fan of Krang, really, or the Dimension X stuff anyways. I like kind of when it just, I don't know, it's the Turtles versus Shredder and whatever mutants are around. I mean, the Dimension X stuff, I guess, does add more to the story. You can bring in other worlds and it expands the universe of TMNT, but it's just not really my favorite thing.
Technodrome.
1992. I would have been in middle school. And there we go. After TMNT Secret of the Ooze introduced Super Shredder, he became the default for pretty much every single Turtles game that featured Shredder. With good reason, because he's awesome. It's really a disappointment that in Secret of the Ooze, he basically killed himself, and we didn't get to see some cool big fight I guess we kind of already had that because in the first live action movie, Shredder just wipes the floor with all the turtles. And didn't think that was going to hit me. Oh, really? All right, well, you see on the continue screen here, that image down at the bottom of the screen, that's actually promotional art from the first live action movie. I thought I still had health left. When you get hit by that thing, is it just automatic, like game over if you're on your last guy? It's like an insta-kill? He moves so fast in this game. Oh. Okay, enough fire. Oh, dang it. That's the best one right there. You can basically walk right up to him. Almost there. There we go. All right, everybody, that is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time for the Super Nintendo. Fantastic beat 'em up. I highly recommend playing it. And I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we will see you next time.